Hi, I'm Bill Clark, world champion and world record holder in powerlifting, strongman, and motivational speaker. And one of the questions that I get pretty routinely is, how do I bend the steel bars and roll up the frying pans and tear decks of cards and things of that nature? So I thought I'd take a second today and at least talk about one of them, which is tearing the decks of cards. That's probably the most asked thing that I get is, how do I do it? Is there a special technique? Is it all strength? And the answer is that there is a technique to it, and I'll show it with you. I'll show it to you. I have no problem with that. Some of the strong guys, strongman guys, get a little upset because they think it's kind of like a magician that reveals his or her secrets. My argument with that is that I'm not a magician, and neither are other strongmen. Now, this is not an illusion. You're either strong enough to do it, implementing the correct technique, or you're not. It's not a lie, and I'm not trying to bash magicians here, but that's essentially what they're doing. They're trying to deceive you. There's no deception here. So I really don't have a problem sharing. If there are any secrets, I have no problem sharing them. So I'll walk you through the technique that I use, and then some strength developers that will help you to tear decks of cards. I think tearing a deck of cards is much harder than ripping a phone book because the paper in the phone book is so thin. The cards are plastic coated and they're a little slippery, so they become a little bit more challenging. Before I get to the technique, in which actually what I'm going to do is break this up into 3 segments. The first part is your central nervous system, because your central nervous system is responsible for almost everything that you do. It's responsible for the way your mind thinks and the way your body responds to a number of different things, and that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb to remember with everything that you do in life. Tearing decks of cards is no different. You need a central nervous system to respond to the challenges that are in front of you. If you pick up a deck of cards and try to rip it, and you've never practiced this before, you probably will fail at it. If you don't fail and you succeed, then you're pretty unique. And God bless you if you can. Most people won't be able to, and that's okay. That does not mean you're not strong enough. And those of you that have seen any of my videos so far or know me know that I'm always telling people, you don't quit, you don't give up. If you can't tear a deck of cards at first, that's perfectly normal. Your central nervous system has to adjust and adapt. And I've got a little training regimen that I'll throw at you that I think will be helpful. My suggestion to you is to start out with 25 cards and rip that first. If that goes easy, then go to 30 and then 35 and 40. And if 25 is really easy, then maybe you jump up to 35. But I think you get the idea. Go in segments, okay? And don't be discouraged. I can honestly tell you, the first time that I tried to rip a deck of cards, I was not successful. I had to break it down. I forget the actual number that I started with, but I don't mind telling you that I was not able to do it the first time. But now I can do 2 decks of cards. I can open up 2 full decks and put them on top of each other and rip those. So it is about practicing your technique and getting a central nervous system response, and that's the same with, I think, just about everything that we do in life. So having said that, let me share the technique, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how to get stronger, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to remove this chair. A little bit awkward there for a second. And I'm going to reach over here. Now, this deck of cards has not been opened yet. But what I'm going to do is, if I can get it open here, because I know you probably want to see the deck of cards get torn. So I will do that for you too. Of course, I'll tell you what, it's harder to actually open up the deck of cards than it is to rip them. But actually, this is good because now you can see that it's not, I'm not faking it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm getting frustrated, so now I'm just going to start ripping the package apart. And, okay, and by the way, a deck of cards actually has, I think, 56 cards in it because it's got the rules and everything else. So let me show you how I do this. There's a number of ways that I've seen guys take them like this and shear them this way. I prefer the long way, so I'll put one thumb out and one thumb in. And what I do to the cards is I take them and I form them into an S. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling this way and this way. And the reason you want to do that and make the cards into an S, if you can follow the line of my finger, you want to kind of turn them into an S, because if you don't, then the cards themselves, when you start to tear them, what they'll do is they'll fan out in such a way as like this, and then they'll start to twist, and basically what you're trying to do is rip 10 decks of cards. So it really doesn't work that well. So in terms of the technique, I get it in there real tight, squeeze, turn it into an S, and then I'll bring the cards in closer. Now, more advanced is to take them and tear them out here, which I guess I could do for you, but I think it'd probably be more beneficial if I showed you the beginner's way to do them. You want to pull them in tight, and the reason is you're stronger there. If I try to tear the deck of cards out here, if I did tear the deck of cards out in front like this, it's kind of like holding a 10-pound weight out this way or bringing it in close. You're much stronger. It's called the concept of proximity. You're much stronger closer than you are farther apart. So you want to bring the cards in closer to you, and I'll give you one more hint, one more tip that is. If by any chance you get stuck, I always, when I do heavier sets or when I do like 2 decks or something like that, I make sure I have jeans on, because then you can put the cards up against your knee and use your knee as a brace to help tear. Right, but having said that, let me back up a little bit so you can see a little bit. I'll tear the deck of cards and then we can talk about how to get stronger. Okay, and I hope you're able to see that. I'm not quite sure, but you can see it was pretty easy for me. But again, in all honesty, as I put my big giant head in front of the camera, in all honesty, you saw how easy that was. At least it feels easy to me. 2 decks of cards is much harder. But once again, I didn't start out like that. So if you really like to do these types of things, then please don't get discouraged and please don't quit. Okay, now let me show you a couple of quick tips to get your hands and your wrists a little bit stronger to make this easier. The first thing I like to do is something called wrist planks, and I will get a big 2x4, and this one actually, you can probably see on the other end of it here, it's soldered, so I have a hole drilled on the inside of it, and I've loaded it with solder to make it heavier. And then I'm going to kind of move it closer here. Take your hands, wrap them around the plank like this, and then you can kind of do this. Now this one, again, it's soldered, so it's substantially heavier. I keep my hands up against my body and I allow my wrists to do the work here. Your fingers have to hold the planks and your wrists are actually doing the work, which also works your forearms as well. But when you're doing this, believe me, your wrists and your hands will get much stronger. Another thing that I think will be very beneficial for you to squeeze the cards is to take a dumbbell. So I usually use 50s, but I don't want to drop them and look stupid right now. But I usually use 50 pounds, and this one is a 20. And what I'll do is I'll wrap my fingers around it and then just kind of start twisting it around. It won't take you too long, and you'll see that your fingers are going to start getting fatigued. And so will your extensors and your brachioradialis, which runs down here. And you're going to need those to tear the decks of cards too. So that will help you develop your finger strength. And the last tip I'm going to show you, is to do wrist rolls. You're going to lie on your back. You won't be able to see me if I did that now, so I think you'll understand. But if you lie on your back and you take the dumbbell, so the ceiling would be up here, and all I'm going to do is bend, and you're going to use both wrists at the same time, because whatever you strengthen one side of your body, you want to strengthen the other as well. And what that'll do is that'll develop those extensors that you're going to need as you tear and shear the deck of cards. Okay, so that's how to tear a deck of cards. And excuse me, I hope you liked it. And again, stay strong. God bless. And next video, I will be talking about stress and how to manage stress and different tips. And hopefully you'll like that too. Hey, thank you.